And action. Welcome to another awesome podcast of the Action Podcast. We are on episode 65 today. And of course, we have the one and only Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny that we're talking about today.
Been waiting for this one.
Yeah. Obviously, this has been much anticipated, especially after the lukewarm reception, to say the least, of the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Although it was a commercial success, it made, I believe, over 700 million off of like a 200 million budget, something like that, which obviously is a good return of value. But so we're coming today. It's already past the 4th of July weekend release of this. And I believe the last numbers I checked this morning were it's at $80 million domestic over the 4-day weekend, which was on estimates, but at the same time, not what they were hoping. The movie has gotten a 6.9 IMDb rating, which is solid. Metascore 57. So, I think obviously we're gonna give our opinion on what we think about it, but I think just in general, it's probably a good thing that maybe this is the last one, just because it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of traction for it, which is unfortunate. But I know, just talking to a lot of people, like especially like younger generation, they're just for whatever reason it doesn't hit the same chords that maybe our generation does, which is
that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Worldwide gross 130, but again, production budget 300 million. So it's gonna be really tough for this to make its money. I almost don't see a path for that. But let's start with you, Pete. You've been looking forward to it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, after that last one, I mean, lukewarm is a very nice way to put it. I really want to see it again in some weird way, Crystal Skull, just to see. But I know I'm just going to be just as equally disappointed. So a little bit of nervousness going into this one, even though the trailers were just really well done. So I was excited about this. And before we even get into any review of this movie, let's look at just the people that created this movie. First of all, the director, James Mangold. This guy did Ford versus Ferrari. He did 3:10 to Yuma, which is like one of the best.
That's one of my
He did
favorites.
Walk the Line, which is one of the best biopics. He did one of the most underrated films ever in Identity. And he's going to be directing a Star Wars movie coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah, Identity. I love that film. I didn't know he did that.
Identity's so good.
Yeah.
But that's who's going to direct this film. The writers, the Butterworth brothers, who did Edge of Tomorrow, which I think is another grossly underrated film. I loved that film. And then David Koepp, who did the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, Secret Window, which is another underrated film, Mission Impossible, Jurassic Park, Toy Soldiers. So that this is like, okay, those are just the people that are sort of creating this movie. And you bring Harrison Ford back. Overall, I had a blast with this film. I really enjoyed it. I mean, there's talk all over the internet. There's very positives and there's some negatives about this movie. And, some of the negative things are very much about your own personal taste. And spoilers, you don't listen to this if you don't want to know what's going to happen in this movie. It's going to be impossible to talk about this without talking about it. You know what I mean? So, like, for example, the whole time travel back thing, I know a lot of people just didn't enjoy that at all. I for one, loved it.
I love it. Yeah, same.
So let's just break it down a little bit. So the opening sequence with the de-aged Harrison Ford was classic Indiana Jones. It was in your face. It was explosions. It was intense. It was the music was there, that just kind of brought it all in. And it just set up this whole thing. And then, then you start to see.
And by the way, it looked good. Like, that was going to be my biggest, like, I guess, concern was, because that was probably my biggest argument with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It just didn't look good. And, even though it had a big budget, like, they tried to do too much, I think, and got away from the practical. And then it just didn't look good, and again, you either got to spend the money to make it look good or, figure out a way to shoot it real. And
Right.
I thought that opening sequence, like you're saying, yes, there was a lot of CGI in it, but it looked good at least. And there's only one shot that really took me out. It was really bad, but it was him like running on the train. It looked like Titanic, that opening scene of Titanic where it's just like
Yeah.
total cartoon guy just walking. I'm like, whoa, who approved that shot? Like, can I throw in on that to get it better? It was really bad. I don't know. That was the only
Yeah.
real complaint, but
But I mean, there's such an advancement with like facial replacement and de-aging, and if Lucasfilm couldn't get it right, then what are we doing, right?
yeah, exactly.
So it was I thought it was clean, and I thought it really worked well.
Yeah,
Kind of
same.
weird that it was weird that it was his old man voice, but whatever. We can get
I
past
thought
that.
I didn't. I actually. It didn't sound like too much of
Eh,
an old man.
it sounded a little bit. He definitely said he wasn't young Indy when he was talking.
No, but it wasn't like James Earl Jones in the last
No,
Rogue One, where it was like
no,
definitely older James Earl Jones. And I think
right.
again, moving forward is side topic here is you could still make some more like prequels of this and do what they just did, and it's like get Harrison Ford to sign off on it, and keep the money down. You don't have to make it a $300 million, but you can do this whole de-aging and do some indie adventures. And Indiana Jones Lost City of Atlantis, how's a video game, you can do that one, and I don't know, I'd be open to that. Again, as long as the scripts are good. But this sequence, the opening sequence, worked for me.
That was so good.
Yeah,
And then we got to see an old Indiana Jones not trying to still do a bunch of stuff like he did in Crystal Skull. Like he was properly old, and they didn't try to hide around it. And there were some really great moments, a lot of great callbacks in this film that were really sweet. The very end, was also just one of those kind of nostalgic sort of like remembering kind of thing. The one
yeah,
thing I will say though, this is why I'm going to go and see the movie again, is that I remember only hearing pieces of music in that classic score. I felt that there was a lot of moments where, and I think this is intentional. I think this is like Mangold's style, where he just allowed a lot of the characters to just be within a scene and didn't try to add a bunch of music to it. But Indiana Jones movies are traditionally very heavy score and
yeah.
very intense score. I felt like I missed a little bit of the music. I didn't. I felt like I don't know. I just missed it. I didn't. It didn't overpower me like all the other movies do with those very
Yeah,
heavy themes and very iconic sort of melodies, right? I
yeah.
thought in terms of performances, I mean, Harrison Ford just crushed. I mean, this guy comes in and he's gonna. This is like Tom Cruise with Mission Impossible. Like that Harrison Ford's gonna come in and he's gonna nail this
Oh, he was
project.
ripped too. There's a scene where he doesn't have his shirt on for an
You
80 year
imagine,
old
you
guy.
imagine you like look like him at 80 years old. This can be.
Yeah.
I'd be so happy with my life. Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I thought that she did a good job. She did fine. Mads Mikkelsen is nobody's talking about this guy. This guy is amazing.
Oh, he's a beast. He's one of my
He's a
favorites.
beast, and he crushed in this one too. And he plays that German role so well,
Yeah.
where he doesn't just get overexcited about stuff. He keeps things very calm, and he's just very precise in how he.
Yeah.
And if history is going to tell us anything, any kid that stars with Indiana Jones goes on 30 years later to win an Oscar. So maybe this Ethan Isidore, who plays that little kid, maybe in 30 years we're going to see him win a Best Supporting Actor role. I don't know. He was fine as well. I don't think that he really added a lot to it. There was a couple things that were trying
No,
to.
and I think that's where this film, I think, if I had to rank this one, I would probably put this number three. In terms of, I'd put this above Temple of Doom. I think I enjoyed this more than Temple of Doom, like the ride. Um, even when go back and watch Temple of Doom again, I never like loved Temple of Doom. And there's
It's
scenes I
heavy.
like from it. There's scenes I like from it, but as an overall movie, I'm not like excited. Like even that opening, you know, we always joke about it,
Dun,
but
dun, dun,
yeah,
dun, dun,
I mean,
dun, dun,
it's like
dun.
whatever. It's like, but even Spielberg has said this in his reviews, like, or in interviews, like, it just missed the boat.
Yeah, no, but it was classic, and
but
it was a weird movie
but I
to
think
watch.
this movie went back. This movie continued the lineage of, again, where Indiana Jones, and it's Indiana Jones versus the Nazis,
Yeah.
and as
This
not
should
just,
have been the fourth movie. Like if they would have
yeah,
done one, two, and three, and then this movie came out as the fourth one, I think we'd be talking something very differently today
yeah,
about
absolutely.
post trilogy Indiana Jones. I mean, this was a solid movie, and it was very enjoyable. I would recommend anybody to go see it. And for the younger generation, I mean, you're missing the boat if you don't think that the first three Indiana Jones movies are anything of significance. You
Yeah.
need to see these films. It's just crazy that there's not a huge younger outpouring for
Well,
these films.
and again, it's better than your what was Drake? Well, it's better than Tomb Raider for sure. The Tomb Raiders, but then what's that other video game from Sony with the characters Drake, Mark Wahlberg's in it, Tom Holland,
Oh, um, not unhinged.
Uncharted, Uncharted.
Uncharted.
Yeah, but
I knew
like
it
you're
was an
talking,
though.
yeah, yeah, it's better than, I mean, and even like, again, like people are all, this generation loves seeing the Fast series. Like this is way better than the Fast series. So it's just disappointing that
Garbage.
this isn't going to do as well as like Fast X. Like Fast X, it's not even this movie's not even the same ballpark. This is so much better than that, and it's not going to do
Mm,
well. And it's just
mm.
sad. It's sad because like I'm all for popcorn flicks, and obviously I think both of these fall in that line. But this one, again, like the story is so much better. And again, just all the elements of filmmaking is better, and this is just a better crafted film. I mean, this is why, like, even Justin Lin, who is the director, that left because he didn't like where they were going with the story of Fast X, because like you're saying, the big balls just like wrecking the whole city, and it's just, I don't know, it was ludicrous. But
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I enjoyed this probably right above Temple of Doom. So I put this probably 3. Um, yeah, I think what I really wished, and what I really think this one could have competed with 1 and 3, is that hard hitting side character. And again, like why I like Last Crusade the most is because of Sean Connery. The
Sure.
relationship between Sean Connery and Harrison Ford was so good, right? And obviously I think in Crystal Skull they tried that with Shia LaBeouf, and that was kind of a, actually I didn't think Shia LaBeouf was bad by any stretch of the imaginations. I just think it overall, like, it just missed, if that makes sense. Like, I think Shia LaBeouf was aging out of popularity versus, that's when he started to kind of go off in the hinge. But even like what I love about Temple of Doom is Short Round, and I would have loved to see Short Round in this one, especially like he's got this rebirth. Like, I mean, I know this was shot a few years ago, right? Wasn't this? I forget,
Yeah, I
but
don't know.
I would have loved to see Short Round in this one and somehow make that work. Especially
I
watching.
agree. I agree 100%. Like even if they had already wrapped on filming, like with a $300 million budget, you telling me you couldn't get him in
Yeah,
and just do a quick scene, something, it
something.
would have been amazing.
Yeah,
Especially after the momentum of him winning an Academy Award.
yeah.
It
I
would
would
have
have
been
done everything in
incredible.
the power to get him in this film. And again, I think you're talking about one of the most beloved Indiana Jones characters. Like I was even looking, I got like an ad to buy like the little Short Round toy, and I'm like hardcore considering, because I love Short Round.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
that's what I thought. I thought that was the main thing that's missing. And then the other part, again, these are nitpicking things, guys. So don't
that's all
again,
we can do,
overall
really.
overall
Right.
I really enjoyed the film. So this is nitpicking. And we're, again, I'm also trying to make this film like elite. And I think the other part is, and you kind of mentioned it before with the score, So what I loved about what The Force Awakened did was it was the Star Wars music, and then they added these new themes, but the themes themselves stood out and made it great. So like if you go back to Last Crusade, there is the that was not in the first two films, but it was this new score, and that was just so popular throughout like the entire film. And I didn't this one didn't have a there's definitely some different, sounding music in it, but there wasn't like a rememberable score piece in this that separated it. Again, in the first one, obviously, the first one you have the several different scores, and again, there was also there's also a score in the last one. I'm sorry, Last Crusade. I think it was with the Grail stuff. I forget it off the top of my head, but you'd know it if you heard it. But there's a very specific theme. When they introduce Grail stuff, or when Sean Connery would talk about it, again very very niche
Yeah,
themes and
got
stories.
almost very religious, the music, like it
Yeah,
had a
exactly.
very religious
But
tone.
that's what I would like to have seen more from this one, where it had just had a new theme, where it was Indiana Jones, but just still crushed it. And again, I thought John Williams executed that in Force Awakens.
But
You
John
could,
Williams is known for that, right? I mean, he did
yeah.
that with Empires when he brought in the March, right? That wasn't the first one, but he every movie that he does that's a
Yeah.
sequel, he always adds a theme that is memorable. So yeah, no, I agree.
Because I thought Kingdom of the Crystal Skull had the same problem. Like it was, I don't recall a new one where it's like, oh my goodness, I have to have that soundtrack. It's so much different than the original. And
Right.
yeah, so those are just my nitpicking things on it. That's what I'd love to have seen, and I think it really would have put it on the same level, like where you're actually like, I don't know, man, this is pretty up there with Raiders Lost Ark. Like, I think it had that potential. I loved the Archimedes stuff. I thought that stuff was pretty fascinating. Um, it was interesting concept. I love when you introduce a story, and I knew who Archimedes is, but I don't know like 100% about him. And so I
Right.
love when it sparks that curiosity in my own head, where it's like, I need to find out more about him. Like, what is this? What is that? And it's I just think that's a great premise. Um,
Right.
and Greek stuff, you can never go wrong going back to Greek stuff. The Greeks are so influential in world history. So
Right. But I thought the pace of the movie was really well done. The writing throughout, I thought that the way that the writers were able to, they have this dial of destiny, right?
yeah,
Um, and I think that every character in the film had a reason. I mean, Indy more than anyone had a reason to go back in time and try to change stuff, right?
yeah,
They all had their reasons to do it. So each character had reason to want to find this dial on a personal reason or whatever, right?
yeah,
And I thought that that was really kind of well woven throughout the
I
thing.
agree.
Like when I was watching it originally and having this great journey with this story, as soon as they did go back in time, I immediately just I got really panicky because I thought it was really gonna just rip apart the rest of the movie. And then when he starts like, yeah, I'm gonna stay here with this bullet wound that would never heal, or had like nobody's gonna perform surgery on him or anything. He's literally
Yeah,
gonna stay there and die. And I'm like, "Ugh, that's the worst ending I've ever heard of." And then the girl's just like, nope, boom, and then
yeah.
knocks him out. I'm like, all right, okay, good. That's exactly what you should have done in this scenario. Well done.
But I,
And
I thought it was plausible though. I thought his thought process was plausible. Like he's witnessing history. He's an archaeologist. Like,
yeah,
I,
okay, but he was
but I
gonna
agree
die.
with you. No, no, no. But I agree.
I would have it would have taken the movie down a couple of points in
No, no,
my
no,
book
100%. But I'm
if he would
saying
have
that
stayed
was a
there.
that was a good setup because it was plausible, and I could see that. See, you could see that actually being the ending. And then again, I thought it was even a better job of her punt. Like I'm agreeing with you, but I like that setup because I
Right.
actually was like, oh wow, this is how he's going to go out. Okay, makes sense.
You
So
know,
I liked it. I like what they did there.
okay, another nitpicky thing, if I may, and then we can kind of push forward. But
Yeah, I just
I
have
don't
one
know.
last point too myself.
I I know that this was a big deal in Raiders, um, and it's kind of a big deal in this one too. The whole ending sequence, right? Like he's tied up the whole time. It's like he's not even like contributing. Like this is going to be his last movie. I really wanted, in a way, to see Indy being a part of the ending of the movie, you know, about, or at least, you know, that process, that third act, you know what I mean? Like he's tied up the whole time, and it's everybody else kind of doing stuff. I just wanted him to be more involved. You know what I mean? It's nitpicky,
Yeah, I don't agree with that, but
but he's just tied up the whole time. Just,
yeah, well, he's also 80 years old. Like, what do you
so
want
what?
from the
He
guy,
can still
dude?
do stuff. We just saw him
Uh,
do stuff for, you know, an hour and 10 minutes.
yeah, but I think that's where it's the team, right? Like, he's not a superhero. You know what I mean? Like, so he does need help. He needs other people. Like, he can't do all this by himself. You know, like
No, he's always needed somebody.
yeah, he always
And
needs somebody. Raiders lost
you
Arch
know,
Safety.
it'll be debated from now for as long as we live. Was this girl was she a good sidekick for Indy in this film? I think after a couple of watches, I'll have a better idea of it, and so I'm still kind of up in the air. Was she the best?
I'm still I've seen it twice now. I don't hate her, which is good. I don't love her though.
No, I don't love her, but I can't. Again, she did fine. I thought she did a fine job. I just didn't love her. You know what I mean? She wasn't Sean Connery, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
who could ask for? Um, but even in Raiders, you know, he had Marion the whole time, and she was awesome. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
I think she just I could have used more comic relief from her. She wasn't very funny, but you know,
Yeah, but I think that was kind of her character, right? That sort of conceited, looking to screw over
I mean,
people.
she had a couple good lines.
Some great lines, yeah, a
Yeah.
couple of great lines. Either
Uh,
way, I think at the end of the day, this is a great film, and I'm really happy that they did it. I was nervous, but it was well worth the wait. I enjoyed every moment of it.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, and in my last point, I want to give props. Some of the villains, so like the side villains,
yeah,
they were good. Like the dude with the mustache, like he's such a dick.
so
And
good.
that's like the whole time I'm just like, man, I hate this guy. And
He's
that's what
such a
you want.
jerk.
Yeah, that's what you want out of your villains. Like you don't want you like every single moment they could be a dick, they were, and they were really menacing. And again, you're talking about just like turning up the heat. I thought they did a great job of just turning up the heat, and they're annoying in a good way because it's like they were always on their back. Like again,
Yeah.
it was just really well done. They made some choices that were bold, and I think they worked. Like in
Mhm.
the very beginning, when like again, like you're still trying to figure out like what's happening right now, and they just shoot the people. It's like whoa, like what's happening right now? Like who's who's
And we
good,
know
who's
who's the
bad?
bad guy in this.
Yeah, but you still they're like yeah, it was confusing in a good way because
But
you're
even
just
the big guy, you know,
yeah,
the big giant bad guy. I thought that they were going to have, you know, some sort of clash between Indy where, you know, just like in the first one with the
yeah,
bald-headed guy, you know, and then in Temple of Doom with the slave master down in the tombs or whatever.
yeah,
I just thought that he was going to have to go up against and actually defeat on some level, whether
yeah,
by his hand or not, or by an airplane, right?
yeah,
I thought that was, but even the CIA agent, that woman, I don't know her name off the top of my head, but she was so good.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I wanted her more involved. I thought that she, in her limited screen time, did such a good job.
Yeah.
She was
Well, again, like
bold,
she uh she added that just like wait, she seems good,
right?
but she's working with them. Like what's happened? Like who's in
Right.
charge? Like yeah, again, I think think that added a lot to it because it made that sequence really work. And it was
Right.
just, hey, what's happening here? I don't know. Cause confusion. So yeah, again, I think that's where they did a really good job of those characters, adding a lot of intrigue while you're still trying to figure out everything. And
Shot beautifully too, this film. Really just beautiful shots.
yeah, yeah,
Cool, man.
the train sequence is really good. But yeah,
So good.
so yeah, guys, go see this. I think we both recommend this. And yeah,
Real fast, just to give some animation love, and it's a streaming option, so you can go and see this today on Netflix. There's a movie that they released called Nimona. It's really well done. It's got kind of your standard kind of story, like with knights and dragons and stuff, but it is such a twist. Go and see it. It's a medieval time period, but it's like almost futuristic because there's a bunch of like futuristic stuff that in there. The head knight gets framed for murdering someone. I won't spoil it, even though he's innocent. And the only one that can help him prove his innocence is this girl, Nimona, who is this crazy little teenage girl who's also a shapeshifter. And it's really well done. It's funny, and it's got great themes, and the story is really strong because now she ends up being the creature that he was supposed to. He swore to defend the realm against. Yet now they're a team, and it's good. You should see it.
all right, well, we'll check that out. So upcoming schedule, if you look at the next, so next week's kind of a slower week. And so we're gonna combine a few movies here. The number one movie coming out next, which comes out I'm gonna see it July 10th, actually, I believe, Pete. But
Yeah, it's a Wednesday, I think.
yeah, I think I got an early access.
A rare midweek release for a blockbuster movie.
I think technically it comes out July 14th, but it's Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Again, one of the most anticipated movies of the year. Everyone sees the stunt work. Everyone knows this one. Tom Cruise isn't messing around. So definitely looking forward to that. That's going to be our number one movie. There's a few other movies that are going to be released as well that we're going to try and get to. Joyride, which a couple big hitters are on the production side of it, to include Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg. They're producers on the project. Cherry, I'm not even going to try to pronounce her name, but she's from Family Guy. If you've ever seen a long name on
That
Family
really
Guy, Cherry,
long name.
Yeah, Cherry something with a long name. She wrote it. Also, the girl that wrote Crazy Rich Asians is part of it as well.
Right.
And then so that's one that looks pretty good. Sound of Freedom, which Pete mentioned last week, with Jim. Well, that's supposed to be out like today, so hopefully we can.
Yeah, today or yesterday.
Yeah, we're gonna try and catch that one. There's a new Insidious. I've never seen any of them, so I don't know if I'm gonna see that or not.
It is like the first Insidious. It messed me up. I was so scared for a while.
All right. Well, Pete's dedicating himself to see that one. I might see that. I don't know if I see other ones or not. I'll just watch it. Right. And then The Outlaws, which is on Netflix, and that one looks pretty good. Pierce Brosnan's in that, just to name a few. What's the boy's name? Adam Levine? No.
Yep.
Adam Devine. I don't know. Okay,
Are you asking me? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I was asking you. He's in it. He's in like I'm just losing my mind. Jexy. He was in Jexy. That's one of my favorite films. But anyways, yeah. So those are the upcoming movies that we got. So stay tuned for that, and make sure you like, subscribe, share, help us grow. We appreciate that greatly. So with that, guys, that is a cut. Thanks.